Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to all. A very welcome to all viewers from Malaysia and all around the world. This is the 13th Distinguished Lecture Series. This program is brought to you live from the Faculty of Engineering, University Technology, Malaysia. For your information, this Distinguished Lecture Series is a lecture series by prominent professors, researchers, and scientists from all around the world to discuss the latest technology and issues, as well as exchanging expertise and ideas. I am Sharifah Rafida Wan Alwe from Process Systems Engineering Center, Prospect UTM, a research center doing research on process system engineering, and I will be hosting the session today. It is a pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker for today, Prof. Dr. Jaromír KLEMEŠ, the head of Sustainable Process Integration Laboratory, SPIL, from Brno University of Technology, Czech Republic. Prospect and SPIL has been collaborators for a long time, jointly published paper, co-supervised students, co-organized conferences, and many more. In fact, Prof. KLEMEŠ is also the UTM Honorary Doctor of Engineering. We are very pleased and honored to have Prof. KLEMEŠ with us today. And before I would begin, I would like to congratulate Prof. KLEMEŠ on the increase of the impact factor for the various journal which recently was announced by Clariviet on 29th June, especially Journal of Cleaner Production, whom he is the co-editor-in-chief. Journal of Cleaner Production now has an impact factor of 7.246. Congratulations, Prof. It looks like you will receive more paper submissions after this. Prof. KLEMEŠ will deliver a talk entitled Plastic Waste Management and the Impact of COVID-19 Pandemic, which he jointly prepares with Dr. Yivan Fan. And as we all know, due to COVID-19, plastic usages have been increasing, especially as we have more medical waste, takeaway foods, package deliveries, and some people are even discarding the plastic after purchasing since they are worried the virus might still be there. Besides that, there are also many countries promoting to avoid the use of single-use plastics, such as straws, mineral water bottles, and others. We hope Prof. KLEMEŠ in his talk today can provide us some insights on all these issues and maybe propose on how to reduce and maybe suggest also other alternatives to plastics, which we can consider. During his talks, viewers, you are welcome to write any questions for Prof. KLEMEŠ in the comment sections, and we will try our best to address it as best as we could during the Q&A session. I would now like to invite our beloved Dean from Faculty of Engineering, University Technology Malaysia, Datuk Professor Dr. Muhammad Rafiq Kadir, to give a short opening as well as introduce our honorable speaker. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you, Sharifah. Assalamualaikum and hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our 13th UTM Engineering Distinguished Lecture Series. My name is Rafiq, and I am the Dean of Engineering, University Technology Malaysia. Today, it is my utmost pleasure to welcome Prof. Jiří KLEMEŠ to our program. A bit about our presenter today. Prof. Jiří Jaromír KLEMEŠ is a George Polya Professor and head of a Center of Excellence Sustainable Process Integration Laboratory, SPIL, NETME Center, Faculty of Mechanical Engineering, Brno University of Technology, Czech Republic. He is also an Emeritus Professor at Center for Process Systems Engineering and Sustainability, Pázmány Péter Catholic University, Budapest, Hungary, and University of Pannonia, Veszprém, Hungary. Previously, he worked for 20 years at the Department of Process Integration at UMIST, the University of Manchester, and the University of Edinburgh, United Kingdom. He was awarded by the European Commission with Marie Curie Chair of Excellence in 2008. He has a track record of managing and coordinating 96 major EC, NATO, bilateral, and UK know-how projects, and has attracted a research funding of over 42 million euros. He is the co-editor-in-chief of Journal of Cleaner Production with a latest impact factor of 7.246 and a site score of 10.9 and several other journals. He is the founder and president for 23 years of PRES, Process Integration for Energy Saving and Pollution Reduction conferences. He has been awarded by the Web of Science and Publons, a highly cited researcher, top peer reviewer, and top handling editor. He authored and co-authored 556 papers with an H index in Google Scholar of 61, in Scopus 54, and in Publons 47. He has been invited to give lectures at 56 universities worldwide, several times distinguished visiting professor at University Technology Malaysia, 4 times Doctor Honoris Causa, Honorary Doctor of Engineering University Technology Malaysia, awarded with honorary membership of Czech Society of Chemical Engineering, European Federation of Chemical Engineering Lifetime Achievements Award, and Pro Universitae Pannonica Gold Medal. He has been a supervisor and co-supervisor of 28 PhD students. So that is a brief biography of our speaker. Here now is Prof. Jiří KLEMEŠ from Brno University of Technology to talk about plastic waste management and the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Professor KLEMEŠ, over to you.
Salam alaikum, dobré ráno, good morning, dobré jutro. Greetings to everybody from the center of Europe. I know you've got already the afternoon, but in some other countries it's early morning or late night. And this is the beauty of online conferencing, that we can meet friends all around the world. I am very happy and honored by the University of Technology Malaysia to invite me for the talk, as I consider UTM as my second, third alma mater, because I graduated from Brno University of Technology, where I returned after 50 years, which I spent mostly at UMIST, which I loved very much. And from UMIST comes a lot of UTM lecturers, professors, and even DVCs. So I am feeling amongst you very much as like at home. Topic which I am going to deliver today is actually something what we would prefer not to talk about at all. COVID-19 is a big challenge, but it's not just the challenge about medical sciences, but it's a challenge also for other research. And what we are going to do, we are looking on impacts of pandemic and impacts of pandemic on the very important and growing issue, which is plastic and plastic waste management. Good morning, good evening, good night. It depends where are you. I am in the center of Europe, in the Czech Republic. And at the moment when we are starting the presentation, it's reasonably early morning. I am not the only author of this presentation, as I am in the European Union, and the European Union countries are strongly promoting to have equal representation of men and women. So I asked one of my female colleagues to help me with the presentation, and she prepared a number of slides, and her contribution is very substantial. Another reason why I decided to have her as a co-author is her very close relation with UTM. She graduated as MPhil from UTM in bioprocess engineering. After she did PhD at SPIL, my research group of excellence. And now she's occupying the position of the key researcher. And even being less than 1 year after PhD, her publication and citation records, as you can see, are very substantial. But it's not just this. its big involvement as associate editor, editorial advisory board, reviewer, lecturer, scientific committees, invited speaker, and so on. Well, where is the Brno? Brno is quite far from Malaysia. It's the only disadvantage, because I like to visit Malaysia and visiting as frequently I can, but the flight is 10 hours plus. But Brno, as a country in the heart of Europe, has got a lot of neighbors: Germany, Poland, Austria, Slovakia, nearly Hungary. And because we are part of Schengen, there are no real borders, with exception of those imposed by the virus at the moment. And it's excellent place for the international collaboration and good luck. Brno is the second largest city of Czech Republic. It's not too large. It's about the size of Johor Bahru, but it's the capital of Moravia. Moravia has been a historical country. Usually the second son of the Czech king become the Great Duke of Moravia, and it's a pleasant place to live, study, full of culture and full of history. I hope you will come and see us, our SPIL center, as well as the country. Another issue which I am closely related with is the Journal of Cleaner Production. I am one of co-editors in chief, and the journal actually is growing enormously. The last year we've got more than 25,000 papers submitted. But still, journal metrics is quite interesting. What you can see is 2018 site score 7.32. However, site score 2019 is 10.9, and impact factor grown similarly. So I, of course, would like to promote the journal, but be aware we are publishing only cream of the cream. With such a huge intake, unfortunately and regretfully, we have to reject about 90% of papers. So we decided to make spin-off journals, and one of them is a new one, Cleaner Engineering and Technology, which started in August 2020. Well, actually will start in August 2020, and it will be another opportunity to publish. However, let's start with the topic of this lecture: plastics. Plastics, well, they are old issues and recent concern. They started to be used about 50 years ago, and I'm old enough to remember the beginning. Without plastics, we couldn't do too many things. We couldn't get modern car, modern aircrafts. We couldn't get progress in healthcare. We couldn't fly to the space. But as for everything is the price to pay. And you can see some of the problems. Plastic tide, plastic export ban, circular economy problems. But why? Are the plastic foe or friends? Are plastics guilty for this? Obviously not. It's always problem with all development, all technology, how people would be responsible and how they would use it. How to measure plastic waste, because waste is helpful, but plastic waste, if it's not treated properly, can be very harmful. And for this reason, as you probably notice, I am the person promoting footprints already more than 10 years. We have to quantify it, and we have to quantify it on the basis of life cycle assessment. And in year 2019 has been introduced by those authors with leading author Boucher, plastic footprint, which is the total amount of plastic used and discarded by a single individual. And we decided to make it a little bit more extended, because plastic waste footprint is more than plastic footprint. It's plastic which finished improperly in waste. And you can see the simple equation. We've got plastic reused, which is positive, recycled, reprocessed, but the rest is the plastic wasted and it's unwilling. Plastics are not only PET bottles, they are not only big products, they are also microplastics. And microplastics are all around. And we can see them even in our house and homes. And microplastics are very, very small pieces, and they are falling from whatever we use. When we use our clothes, and when we wash our clothes, when we dry clean our clothes, you can see that it's a lot of plastics and microplastics around us. If we are not treating properly plastics and put them in the landfills, it's not the end. Plastics in the landfill is leaking, and it's leaking to ecosphere, technosphere, it's leaking to water, it's leaking to the ambient. And we have to really be careful what to do. So one example, the case study. Well, many of us like tea, white coffee, cappuccino, frappuccino, all different drinks. And they are usually drunk with straw. And well, is it environmentally friendly? What is the best? Plastic, paper, wheat, steel, glass? What do you think is the best straw from the point of environmental friendliness? Well, you can see the answer. The best is to think out of the box and not to use any straw at all. Do we really need it? We can drink our coffee, tea, cappuccino without a straw. Okay, on the other hand, it's straw by mass is only about 0.0% of the cup. But every little helps, and we should always try to think like this. Now the more basic issue, plastics versus paper cup. Well, many chains are now moving from plastics to paper. And they say, well, we are environmentally friendly, we are doing it for the environment. But we used credible figures from British Royal Society of Chemistry and look on the comparison. Paper cup consumes 33 grams of wood, uses 28% more oil to be produced, 36 times more chemicals, consumes nearly 600 times more wastewater, produces by order 2 or 3 order times more pollutant, and 3 times more emissions. And at the end of the life, when we incinerate it, treated it properly, paper provides 20 megajoule per kilogram, and polystyrene gives 40 megajoule per kilogram. And if you think that paper cup is fully recyclable, it is not. Because if we want to drink our coffee, full cup of hot coffee, it can't be just from paper. It must have plastic layer inside. So, conclusion, plastics are cheaper and lighter. Similar issue is with bugs. Let's consider impact on the environment by energy, greenhouse gases, freshwater consumption. We've got 4 different options. Very frequently used polyethylene bug, paper bug, reusable non-woven polypropylene, and reusable polyethylene with 40% of recycled content. And let's have a look. What is the amount of raw materials which we need to produce it? What is, however, very important is how many times we can use it. And every extra use is actually reducing environmental impact. And by energy, obviously, the top winner is reusable polyethylene with 8 uses is 368. Well, greenhouse emissions, it's similar. And paperback is not very good. Freshwater consumption, actually paperback is very much demanding for water. So before you are making decision, let's think and calculate the footprints. Now I'm moving to something what seems to be not very much related with plastics. It's the energy storage. And energy storage is a key issue for implementing renewable sources of energy like wind, renewable energy, or solar energy. And because all those renewables are fluctuating, energy storage is a must. And if you look here on this picture, what you can see plastics. Plastics, which are the cases of batteries, plastics, which are the major material of windmills, and we couldn't do it without plastics. So this is one issue. Some new concepts, giant floating solar farms. It's extracting CO2 from seawater and producing methanol fuel. Very good idea. It has got a great potential for Malaysia coast. Of course, as everything, it has got some problems like rough sea, but let's see how it will develop. But again, the major part of this is plastics. Another way is Norwegian floating solar technology. And again, it can get some future, but it consumes a lot of plastics. What is happening with plastics and microplastics at the end of their life? Well, when they are not treated properly, a lot of them are finishing in the ocean. And look on this picture. It has got some very interesting issues. Those are not big chunks of plastics like synthetic textiles or personal care product, but city dust, plastic granules, and also tires. And we don't mean only used tires, but microplastics which are created by using tires. Tire, by each accelerating and braking, is releasing microplastics. And the latest research is showing that pollution in the cities is not as much as engines, as exhaust from engines, but from tires and brakes. So they finished in the ocean, and are they very harmful or not? We will see the slide which is showing some very recent medical research, but before this, let's look a little bit closer to the plastics. What is called microplastics is the pieces which are less than 5 millimeters, 0.0 inches in diameters, but mostly much smaller. And to our surprise, tea bag which is made from plastics, or even this so-called paper tea bag, which has got some plastics in it as well, is the source of a million of very small microplastics. Of course, PET bottle, well, biodegradable plastics. It's really absolutely biodegradable. Not really. It's degradable to small microplastics, and again, is released to the environment. And you can get the picture what the Nation Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration found in oceans. What is the impact of microplastics? We used several different websites, and there are problems. There are problems on sea life, on Asian green mussels, on some langoustines, shore crabs, lungworms. But if we take it, and this is the latest medical research, so far it hasn't been no evidence of harmful effect to human being, because our digestion is taking it as fibers. Well, let's see if it will be still like this, but this is the present state of the art. And now we are coming to something which shaken our lives probably in all countries, COVID-19. And we started to analyze a little bit, as many authors, impact of the virus to and the environment. Surprisingly enough, or not so surprisingly, there are some benefits, because when we reduced traveling, when we reduce the production, when we reduce the consumption, NO2 decreased, CO2 decreased. You can see even blue skies in India, canals in Venice. They, after centuries, they've got clean water. Well, it might seem that is great, but the decrease is obviously temporary, and is the change in global supply chain. It brought a dramatic reduction in NO2 in Malaysia. Those two pictures are showing it. But after each crisis, usually comes the recovery. And during the recovery, it probably will come back, and probably even more. But what is new and what is the problem is so-called PPE, personal protective equipment. And this is probably those numbers are overcome, because we've got them in February 2018 as WHO modeling what is needed. But when COVID is escalating, when we started to make this presentation about 3 months ago, it was 4 million cases. Now we are more than 10 million. So those figures, these millions, will probably be much, much higher. And most of them are based on plastics. And it created a huge global trade network. Well, business is always taking the opportunity. Of course, the easiest would be to come to each country by direct from the production. And what is interesting, you can see that China is the main producer and trader. Rest of Europe is now taking up quite fast, but still most of them are coming from China. And there are some businesses buying and selling and so on. So those are businesses which are actually flourishing from convict. But when it's used, it should be disposed properly. And those are horrible pictures. You can see the picture from beaches of Hong Kong. You can see the pictures from the streets of the UK. And what is the problem? Is the problem plastics, but is the problem the virus? You probably have seen that that virus, like plastics, virus can survive up to 72 hours on plastics and stainless steel. Well, if people are throwing it like this, they are doing very badly, and they are contributing to spread out. We presented recently in March the paper in Renewable and Sustainable Energy Reviews, where we tried to analyze the impact of COVID-19 to waste composition. Obviously, we've got two different curves. One is medical waste and one is municipal waste. During the closure, municipal waste went down, but medical waste went up. And after some time, it goes to the normal. But who knows, because some countries are now getting through the second wave. And plastic waste needs to be treated properly. What is the problem? You can see the potential of plastic waste increment in relation with this COVID. And very much beside medical, it's on packaging. Packaging, when we've got virus around, we are suddenly becoming very careful with packaging, and we are tempted to use the one-use plastic, which is something what is not good for the environment. But would you like to use the plastic spoon when you are not sure that it's absolutely safe? The same is the cup. And the alternative of plastic packaging. Oh, well, paper and cardboard, but it requires a lot of energy and again is not absolutely safe when we are coming to the problem of the virus. Glass is okay, but glass has to be reused, recycles. So the things are changing. What is the energy embodied in plastics and the value chain? You can see that plastics are usually made on crude oil products, naphtha, olefin, polymers, and so on. And each of them requires energy. And some of them a lot of energy. And this is this gray. The light yellow is when we are using it. When we are recycling, reusing, it's fine because we can get some energy back. But when it finishes in landfill or ocean, the energy is lost. And there are main waste handling approaches. Well, the best thing would be to get it fully separated and using the waste as it should be. Medical waste is especially, it should be steam sterilization, incineration, chemical disinfection, and so on. But is it happening? I don't know if in your country, but in our countries, we've got a new waste bins, which are red, but they are not enough, and not everybody is using it. You've seen the picture, which looked not very nice, the streets of the UK. It's definitely not the proper handling. One interesting thing, this paper become very popular, and this is what Web of Science and Pablon is introduced, so-called altmetric. And I've been surprised how high within a month this paper get altmetric, more than 200. So far, my best and highly cited papers got altmetric 10, 15. So obviously it's very hot topic. And where we are coming, the circular economy, reusable cup. Before virus, we were coming close to something that you were asked to bring your own cup to McDonald's, to Starbucks, wherever. But those change are now not recommending it. Why? Because of worry about the virus. So it can be still some time when we are coming to the normal. So the question mark is the impact on environment lasting and for how long? Well, it's difficult to say. The first thing is virus is far from being under control. Many countries are now getting through the second wave, and who knows how many waves can come. So there are several scenarios. One scenario is that after the bad wave, everything will slowly return to the normal. Economy will recover, start booming. Another is we will have several waves, but whatever happens, we should consider how to deal with the waste, how to reduce plastic waste footprint, not to, even when we are forced to use it as one-off, like masks or respirators. If they are properly handled, they can be used. The plastics can be, after sterilization, it can be used for different things. So one of the reasons of this lecture is to raise the awareness. And I've got last 2 minutes, and I would like to invite you for 2 conferences which are dealing with those issues. Anyway, conferences now started because of virus to be virtual, online. And those 2 will be online as well. But surprise, surprise, it started to work very well. And we are considering in the future probably to make hybrid conferences. As of course, it's very nice to go to Xi'an, to go to Brno, to meet friends face in face. But on the other hand, it takes time. And it's another option. It's another option to pre-record the lecture, show it. Your listeners can listen it during, say, 3 days time window of the conference, whenever, can type the questions, you can answer, you can see it, and everything is fine. So let's see how and what would be the footprint, what would be the impact of COVID and footprints on the conferences. And we would like also to invite you for the next year to Press 21, Conference of Process Integration, Modeling, Optimization for Energy Saving and Pollution Reduction, which should be in Brno. And hopefully this can be at least hybrid, if not fully face in face. So, acknowledgements. Finally, I would like to acknowledge a lot of collaborators who contributed to our research and whose idea have been facilitating the lecture, and not only this lecture, but many other lectures of the SPIL project. I would like to praise especially University Technology Malaysia, my another alma mater, now the University of Manchester, University of Maribor, Hebei in Tianjin, Xi'an, Jiaotong, Fudan, University of Waikato, Pázmány, Péter Catholic University in Hungary, and at least, but definitely not at last, the La Salle University in Manila, Philippines. And this is the present staff of the Sustainable Process Integration Laboratory. It's an international part, which, as you can see, is very international. We've got researchers from different parts of the world, different religion, but all are working in deep harmony together with the Czech part. And our international collaborators are a very important part of the SPIL laboratory. Collaborators are not only friends, not only people whom we like, but also people who are contributing substantially to our research, to our papers, to our presentation. So thank you very much, all of you, and we look forward for many other years to come for our mutual work and achievement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. KLEMEŠ, for your talk. It was very interesting and very informative. Many things I did not know previously, like paper cup may be worse in terms of environmental impact. Many renewable energy systems are made from plastics. Biodegradable plastics is actually contributing to microplastics. And now even how COVID is changing our ways of using things, including plastics and reusable things. And I'll be very looking forward to join Press and SPIL conference virtually this year. Yeah, Prof. KLEMEŠ. So we are now in the Q&A session. And again, to all viewers, if you have any questions, do write it in the comment box. Yeah. So we're going to go into the Q&A session now.
Okay.
Okay, so the first questions from Arif Misrol. I have one question. During the COVID lockdown period, for example, in Malaysia, the environment has been relatively cleaner with the price of job slashing or reductions of jobs. How to strike a balance between the clean environment and sustainable economic growth? Yeah, because you can see that COVID makes cleaner oceans and everything, but then the economic impact is also very bad now. Yeah, with many people losing jobs and so on. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the question. It's the right question, and if I know the answer, I would be probably somewhere sitting at the World Bank or those institutions which are dealing with the economy. What I know from my experience is not this macro, but on the spot. COVID-19 is a big challenge. And there are some businesses which are very, very much influenced, but there are some businesses which are flourishing. If you were running business and able to move swiftly to the demand and start to produce respirators or breathing machines or whatever, but also if you are running a restaurant and just sitting and waiting for guests, you would cry that your business may become bankrupt. But during the lock-up, we used restaurants which were delivering the food, and they were again flourishing. So I think it is all challenging periods are very important to distinguish between good entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs who are just sitting and waiting. But regarding plastics again is creating a lot of entrepreneurs opportunities. If you jumped and start a business for helping of collecting plastics or for reprocessing, for dealing with them with minimum environmental impact, your business can flourish. Of course, it's not easy. And one problem is the present economy is profit-orientated. But profit shouldn't be just measured in money. Profit should be measured also in eco-cost. And the more we consider eco-cost, the better. What means the eco-cost? Well, some countries in the EU are making CO2 tax. CO2 tax is not very popular. Taxes are not popular. But there are some other options. Not only taxations, not only penalties, but also incentives. And I believe that in plastics, if we make incentives for, well, reusing in the time of epidemic is really a problem. But okay, if I were an entrepreneur, I would probably think and start to produce machines which are simple and which are disinfecting one-of-use plastics. At Starbucks or McDonald's to get machine where you put used plastics, and on the other hand, on the other side comes absolutely disinfected and ready for another use. So everything is about the people, and people are those who are, I don't want to say lazy, but just preferring comfortable life. And the other type of people is like Elon Musk, whom people may say we've got some reservation, but he is a great entrepreneur. He made Tesla cars, but now he's flying to the space. But what I very much appreciated are energy storage, batteries. And you know, the idea to use waste batteries from car as a stationary energy storage is a good example how to solve it. And Elon has got no problem with the pandemic because he's innovative. So I'm talking too long.
Okay, so I guess this is a lot of suggestion for entrepreneurs out there. So Prof. KLEMEŠ already give a good suggestions on what kind of business you can start now. All right, I got our second question now from Maria. So her question is, in our country, the usage of paper bags has been an alternative for plastics with the mindset that the impact of this to the environment is better than the plastics.
Okay. If you've seen my slide, it's not better. Unfortunately, or it's natural, some chains are using it as a PR. I don't know if you are familiar with the classic novel of George Orwell, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. It is a very popular story, but in my generation. And supermarket chains would like to be seen green. And they said, okay, plastic is bad, paper is good. But if you look on my slide, it's not really. You know, environmental footprints of paper bags are much, much higher. There are some chains, like in Europe, is called BILA, B-I-L-L-A. And it's originally, I think, German or Austrian. And they 2 months ago decided to return to reusable plastic bags. And I would stress this reusable. Because again, you've seen the slide. If we use the paper bag just once, it's a huge environmental impact. If we can use the bag 20, 30 times, it's divided by 20, 30. The problem with paper bag is it's not reusable too many times. And people are not doing it, just throwing in. But the paper which is used for plastic bags is not clean paper. It has got some coating. And also the length of the fibers is already short. So recycling is not easy. So my answer is not believe blindly to all PRs and saying this is bad, this is good. Try to get sources. For me, the British Royal Society is very credible source, and make your own mind. And this is the message for big suppliers chains, but they are run not by scientists, but by PR people.
Yeah, if you notice also that in many conference nowadays, they don't give the laptop bags anymore. They give the reusable woven paper, the woven bag now. And I think that's very useful because we can use it in shopping malls and so on.
Yeah.
All right.
Next question. Yeah.
Okay, next question is from...
what you are suggesting is one option. If we would like to promote it, we need a detailed analysis. And detailed analysis is environmental footprints. What are all the footprint from the cradle to the grave? And biopolymers, again, they need raw material. They need to be processed. And with biopolymers is also a problem with degradation. If it degrades without any final waste, it's okay. But for example, in the UK, when I still lived there, they started to make biodegradable plastic bags. And those plastic bags actually degraded in 2-3 years. So if you by mistake left it somewhere at home, you suddenly got
particles.
yes. And the problem is that some of those biopolymers are not degrading fully. They are going through the stage of microplastics. And in that case, they can be very unpleasant and even dangerous. So I believe it's no simple solution, no magical solution. This one can be one, but it should be studied. It requires serious studies, publication, and finally to persuade industry and businesses to use it if it's really so much beneficial, and also if it's not costly, because money matters.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the next question from Adeline Tan. Will plastic tax can be introduced in the future? Because it's a carbon tax.
I don't know your background. You might be from the government. Governments love taxes. You know, taxes on petrol, taxes. I'm just waiting when the governments will introduce taxes on power, on electricity. When e-cars will become widely spreading out, they would say, oh, no, electricity is making harm to the government. We need to introduce taxes. I am the person who don't like subsidies and taxes. Okay, it can get some influence on people because, as I said, money matters. But most taxes are finally finishing in governmental coffers, and they are used for something else. If the taxes are strictly used for environmental purposes, yes. And another experience from my long-term UK stay, UK tax policy is actually very sophisticated. They are checking how much it would cost to collect the tax and what is the real benefit. So unlike in the EU countries, we are paying taxes on nearly everything. In the UK, if you, for example, get a royalty for a book, and if it's less than, I believe, £2,000, the government don't bother, because they calculated that collecting these small taxes would cost much more than the gain. And again, plastic. Well, would you like to make the plastic on tax on respirators, on life-saving machines? No.
Yeah, I guess that will be worse in this COVID situation.
Yeah, but you can make it on the cups. Well, before the virus, pandemics, many chains like McDonald's, they started to promote bring your own cup, which I think it's fine. And I started to do it even in our university Mensa, to bring my paper cup every lunchtime, and even paper cup I was able to use for a week. But with pandemics, it's the problem. You know, it's always plus and minus. So
even UTM, we're encouraging to bring our own plastic containers when we are getting a takeaways.
Yeah, very good. Okay, next one.
All right, so this is from Dr. Jeng Shun Lim. So, dear Prof, COVID-19 has affected the global supply chain, including renewable energy such as solar panel. Do you think COVID-19 is going to reshape the energy landscape, and in which way?
Well, definitely yes. I haven't got a crystal ball to forecast what would happen. You know, the forecasts, even by very qualified people, usually proven not to be right. But I think there are always pros and cons. COVID caused a lot of problems, but as I mentioned, for bright people, scientists, entrepreneurs, governments, it's something which can change our thinking to be more innovative. And this is the same with the energy. This is the same. Now we've got one example of video conferences. Our children were using for 3 months learning not at schools, but online. And surprise, surprise, the first analysis found that even young children got better results in the majority than going to schools. My own SPIL group, when we made analysis of our results during the lockdown, we realized that we were not suffering. We managed better. For one reason, because we were not losing time to travel to the office and back. But of course, to be locked in for a long time, it's like a jail. So we definitely need some kind of social interaction. The screen is great, but I still would like to see Professor Sharif. In real, I would still like to come to JB or KL. But back to the question. Yes, energy will develop in new dimensions, but I am following US state of California very closely, because Californian economy is very advanced. It's actually, I think, 7th largest and most innovative economy in the world, and they, as a result of COVID-19, they are moving to very, very new directions. And the new directions are more integration of renewable sources based on mass building of energy storage. Mass building of energy storage and integration of the grids can slash the peaks which are needed to be dealt with. And in that case, we actually need much less of power generation. And in that case, renewables can play a much stronger role, because those peaks usually needed gas-fired power stations, because gas-fired power station can start very fast. But when we use renewables, it's idle for some part of the time. And this integration is much better. Also, many companies realized what I said, that home office, when people are motivated, is not bad, at least for the part of the time. And what is the impact on the environment? We might not need to travel so much to the office. And if you look on the LA, in the peak time, the millions of cars, if this COVID crisis is able to reduce it by 20%, it would be great achievement, and great achievement for the environment. So as every crisis, it facilitates thinking and innovation. And this is a good part of COVID. Of course, I hate it as everybody else, and I'm very keen to get safe and to visit friends again. But for the development, I think, and I am pretty sure that after this crisis, we will see a very, very strong growth in everything, and in the renewables as well.
Very true indeed. Okay, so next we have from Prof. Chiu Tin Lee. Hi, Prof. Great talk. Congratulations. What will be the better scenario or way out for the disposable container? Comparing plastics versus papers or any other renewable materials? It is a shame that bring our own cup faces limitation under COVID. Yeah.
Okay, good questions. But I already answered a little bit. They are simple, and I would say for brain lazy solutions, and they are for brain painful, innovative solutions. So one of my, which probably is not fully proven solution, is to use this some measures for fast and safe disinfection of one-use plastics. We can develop some measures which would change the opinion of the public that only safe is what is packed in plastics. You know, when I come to the restaurant, I can get cutlery which are sealed in plastics, and I believe, as many people believe, it's safe. But what is the proof that it is really safe? Oh, sorry, I need to get connect to the battery. I need to make 2 minutes break. Sorry.
Right, sure. Okay, so we'll wait for a while. Okay, so please bear with us just for a bit more. Okay. Okay, Prof?
Yes. It's going.
Ready? All right.
It's going back. I'm very sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Okay.
I haven't realized that using this is consuming much more of the battery. Because normally my notebook is able to survive 5 hours.
Oh, okay.
But using video and streaming is much more difficult. So the back to this. I think the technology should be developed, and the public should be again feeling soon with one-off plastics. And back to this feeling that what is packed in plastic is safe. I can use one experience, bottled water. We consider that bottled water packed in plastics is safe.
Yeah.
But I've seen in one developing country, I wouldn't like to say which one, the person we were passing by car, and the person got a box of empty plastic bottles, taking water from the stream, which wasn't very clean, and put the taps on and going to sell it in supermarket. And people are automatically assuming that bottled packed water is safe.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's the question of psychology as well.
That's true. That's true. Right. So we have the next question from Muhammad Fitri. Prof, I would like to know, as the layman people, which one is the most appropriate to use between plastic, paper, glass, steel, or others in the case of straw? They are
Okay.
moving to paper straw, but it looked like not practical in real application.
Okay. I already answered by one slide.
Yeah.
The best is not to using any straw at all. You know, to go out of the box. Because I made another example. The conferences are usually supplying delegates a pen. And it was one pen supplied by SDEVES conference, one by press. One was made of wood and plastics, one was made of bamboo. And I asked 10 distinct researchers which one is more environmentally friendly. And I've got very nice answers, you know, based on detailed analysis. But my answer was no pen at all. Why conference should supply delegates with a pen? Each of us has got a pen or 2 or 10.
Yeah, that's true.
So with straw, we can drink our coffee, we can drink our tea, we can drink our cappuccino without a straw.
Yeah.
So I prefer to find simple, environmental friendly solutions, which are a little bit go back to basics. But there are some cases when we can't avoid. And in this case, the problem is it's no simple answer for everything. We always need to use the methodology of environmental footprints. And in that case, after this analysis, we can say this is the best. But the beauty of environmental footprints is it's considering not only the use, but the part of the chain at the beginning and at the end. So if I use something which is very environmentally friendly, but it's a problem with disposing it, it can't be reused, recycled and so on, or it is imported from the other part of the world. So it's not so.
Yeah, true. I noticed now the tumbler, they have the small hole on it. It functions the same as a straw. Yeah. All right. So we have the next question from Muhammad Monir Hossein. What should universities do to reduce the use of plastic products and paper use, especially
Okay.
in developing countries?
Well, I think it's developing or developed. It's the same. Well, we are already doing it. You know, I recently was a PhD examiner in Hong Kong. And okay, I did it online, and I received the thesis electronically. Previously, it would be posted, 150 pages and so on. And most universities are moving from paper especially, to say electronic business. If I agree something for my project, I don't need to use the papers. I just can click on a dedicated website. So it's going. With plastics, it's a little bit more complicated. We mentioned this use your own cup. There are some other issues, because a lot of plastics is included in the products which are high tech, and it's not just university; it's just people. Say mobile phones. Well, I believe most of us are changing mobile phones every 2 years, and what we are doing with it? Well, it should be recycled. It's a lot of plastics, gold, heavy metals, and some others. We are not doing it. So universities can reduce it by their own management, but also by educating people. And we are able to make big impact to the next generation, because each of us has got students. And this is because I am a little bit more senior, and as you noticed, I've got nearly 30 PhDs, and not counting MScs and BScs. But each of them, or not each, but many of them become teachers again. So it's like the family tree. It's growing. From 30 PhDs, there are probably more than 20 teachers. And they've got, again, 20, 30 PhDs. And in MSCs is even more. So university, beside own management, should focus on educating people, but educating them in really environmental awareness. And environmental awareness doesn't mean just 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. It means don't believe advertisement. It's not always right, but look on scientific analysis and behave following that.
Okay. All right. So this is a question from Shahida Sulaiman. Thank you, Prof, for the good sharing. Just wondering, is there any available technology to treat both paper and plastic waste that could make them environmental friendly, since biodegradable plastic lead to microplastics? We need both paper and plastics in our life, and not all can be recycled and reused.
Well, it's again a very good question, but it's no single answer. It's never a magic solution for everything. The world is too much multidimensional, too much different issues. So it's very, very strong research in this waste management running. And if my students ask me what is probably the most perspective research, there are several directions. One is, which we are not directly involved, is the health care. Because people are going to live longer. And when we are living longer, we encounter more diseases. You know, you might say that, say, cancer is now much more spread out, or heart diseases.
It's very scary.
But when people were dying at 35, they had no this problem. When the average life is 80, that's it. So in that case, this is very perspective. But even when we are not medical doctors, it's a very, very strong and perspective way. It's monitoring the health. And engineering has got very strong view. I'm wearing this smart watch, and smart watch is telling me the performance of my heart, of my weight, of my lungs, many things, and it's just the first generation. I visited some centers, very, very good center for this health monitoring is in Bangkok. The Thai king is spending a lot of money, and we can get engineering sensors which could monitor our life all the time, and we don't need to go to the doctor. The doctor can see on his screen or mobile, beep, 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 Jiří KLEMEŠ has a potential problem. So it's one issue. The second very perspective issue is waste management. And this is the question. When I was in Manchester, I learned one thing. Do you know what in the Greater Manchester is the biggest business? it's not Rolls-Royce, it's not ICL, it's not Shell. It's Greater Management Waste Management Authority.
Oh, waste management.
And, Waste Management Authority. And Greater Manchester has got about 7 million people. And this waste is growing. It's growing all the time. With all technology development is growing. And what you are asking to make the solution, well, a lot of research is running. But the problem is you need always to look for all consequences. The first consequence is the material which is used, effluents and emissions during the processing. Use is just a small part, but the life after. And there are things which are appearing and we don't expect it, like those microplastics. You know, microplastics, I stopped drinking tea from tea bags because it's really think about more than 1 million of microplastics. So it's much better to have the tea from Cameron Highlands, you know, the leaves, and not use tea bags. So this is the small thing, and again thinking out of the box, not to think what to do with used bags, tea bags, how to reprocess it or what, but not to use it, to go back to basics. So another one.
All right. So the next question is from Noriza Haji Rezwan. Dear Prof, that top for
Well, this is good. Yeah, good question.
At least 2 weeks in a year to help ozone hole healing.
But you know, I'm in many cases using this back to basics, and many religions, and the religions are usually based on long-term wisdom, are doing something like this. You know, Ramadan. In Christianity, it used to be again the feast before Easter. It was 30 days when people should not eat too much, not to do too many activities. So it was something what you are suggesting. The problem is that the developing world is becoming more hungry for everything. And to get 2 weeks closed down, it can be a problem. But in a way, we've got some closed down. For example, in Europe, it's Christmas. In Christmas, the life is, you know, production and other things are more or less closing and running only those which are really necessary. But the same like with COVID-19, if you reduce some activities, some other are growing. So this is what we found in our paper, which I mentioned. For example, waste, municipal waste went down, but medical waste went up. And if we are reduce some activities, it might be okay with ozone hole, but we can get peaks in some other directions, which are environmentally harmful. So I think absolute closing is very difficult to get good impact on everything. And usually I've got some experience with Ramadan. My Muslim friends, when Ramadan ends, they enjoy the life and eat a lot. And so this is with everything. So probably the best solution is to try to be in the harmony with the nature. And I am trying to get my life, if I am the professor in this topic, environmental management and reducing impact on the environment. I am not driving a huge car. We've got in the family fully electrical car for commuting around the city. We are collecting all organic waste and composting. We are not trying to use too much electricity in vain to get properly insulated houses, because we can get very low temperatures. And personally, I hate air conditioning, which for people in Malaysia is something which they can't live without. But you know, your great grandfathers, they lived without air conditioning, and they survived, and they served well. But okay, Malaysia is a tropical country, but air conditioning in the UK, in Britain, well, I lived there a long time and without air conditioning. But when I now come, air conditioning is in each office.
Oh.
Why to do it? Do we really need it? So this is why we should. Well, and you know, you are saying decarbonize. I am always very unhappy when somebody is saying decarbonize. Do you know what it means, decarbonize? Our body has got about 12% of carbon. So decarbonize means cut 12% of our bodies. It means to remove C from your plastics, from steel, from your car, from everywhere. What we should consider is reducing CO2 emissions, not reducing carbon. And when we look on carbon, carbon is very important, and without carbon wouldn't be life on this planet. There are actually some forecasts which I can't say they are right or incorrect, saying that the life on this planet is going to finish within about 5 million years, and the reason would be the deficit of CO2. Deficit of CO2. So, well, but it's long term, and we can't check if it's right or not. But definitely greenhouse gases, and we need always to consider greenhouse gases, because CO2 is less than 2/3. And we are grossly neglecting methane. Methane is more than 20-fold stronger greenhouse gas. So harmony, reducing, but not draconic actions, you know, 4 legs, but and so on.
So it should be naturally done as well, yeah? All right, so this is the next question from Faizwan Abdullah. Dear Prof, thanks for the excellent presentation. The Scandinavian countries have a great solutions in managing waste. How they make it possible? Through enforcement or awareness?
Well, by mixture. You should educate people first. Another option is fines and taxes, which is not very good. And Nordic countries are not having it too much, but they've got a lot of simple measures. When you drink a can of cola or beer or whatever, what is happening? In most countries, we are dealing how to collect the waste, how to recycle. In Nordic countries, it's a charge for each can, for each plastic bottle, for each glass bottle, for each container. And my personal experience was in Trondheim in Norway. They've got one very unpleasant flight at 6 in the morning, but this is the flight where you can catch all connections. And because it was June, it was already at 4 o'clock when I was going to travel by bus, not by taxi, to the airport. I seen a guy with a big plastic bag going through the street and collecting empty cans. And each empty can was 1 crown. And he was something what we would say homeless, but he wasn't totally homeless. But he had on his back already, my judgment was about 200 empty cans. And he went to the collection point and got 200 Norwegian crowns. So when I was a young boy, I always on Saturday collected empty bottles. At the time it was no plastics, returning, and they were my pocket money. Nowadays it's not happening, but in Nordic countries, in Scandinavia, it is. And I think if we would like to do something besides educating people, we should make some financial incentives.
Right.
So think about it and try to persuade your lawmakers and your businesses, because businesses are saying that it's difficult and how they could transport it, but to a supermarket or hypermarket, they are delivering goods. Lorries going back are empty. So what would be the problem if these empty bottles were carrying thousands of collected cans, plastic bottles, and glass bottles? I can see no problem. Just if you've got some environmental initiatives, please try to persuade them. It is much more environmentally friendly than, say, no plastic bags. To reuse and recollect.
Right. Thank you very much. I'm afraid we will have to wrap the session now due to the time limitation. I would like to thank Prof. KLEMEŠ for taking his time to give this wonderful talk today. And thank you also to all that have asked questions. The talk was very interesting, Prof, and I have also learned a lot today. It is truly inspirational. Yeah. And I would like to also thank everyone that joined our program today. We hope all of you have enjoyed the lecture and has gained something from it. I would now like to pass the baton back to our Dean, Dr. Professor Dr. Muhammad Rafiq, to give his closing remark. Over to you, Prof. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharifah. And to Prof. Jiří KLEMEŠ, our deepest gratitude to you for sharing your knowledge with all of us. Thank you for accepting our invitation, and thank you for sharing your expertise on plastic waste management. We hope that our collaboration will continue well into the future. And to all of you watching this webinar, thank you to all of you. We have viewers all around the globe. And don't forget to like our Facebook page, because we have many more interesting lectures for you. Do share this video to all your friends and colleagues worldwide. Thank you for watching. I'll see all of you in our next episode of UTM Engineering Distinguished Lecture Series. Bye for now.
Thank you for inviting me, and I do apologize for my battery for the break. Next time I will be connected all the time. Thank you, and
Thank you.
I very much look forward to see you face in face again.
Me too, Prof. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.